several people came up to me afterwards. It's like, oh, thank you so much for calling the shit on that, right? Because they get, the vendors push it. And the vendors don't always agree. I mean,
Hello and welcome to episode 283 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast, a proud member of the Marketing Podcast Network. Hope you're well and staying as sane as you feel you need to be. I'm your host, Ian Truscott. I'm not a rock star, but I am a CMO, and on this podcast, I chat with a band of marketing chums who share their marketing street knowledge, which I hope will bring out the rockstar marketer in you. This week, my chum Cathy McKnight, chief problem solver at Seventh Bear, makes her monthly visit to the studio as I grab her after day one of CMS Connect 25, and we dive into what's happening in the world of content management. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this word.
We'll be right back
after this word.
When it comes to relevant content, you may have heard Jeff and me talk about the multis on this show. Multi-channel, multi-device, multi-persona, and multi-language. On that last one, let me ask, how confident are you that your content actually connects in every market? You're not sure? Well, it might be time to check out Phrase. In our experience, this stuff used to be hard, but Phrase makes it simple with its industry-leading AI localization platform that helps you deliver content in multiple languages without losing your tone, your message, or your mind. It automates the manual work, slashes review time, and gives you real data on what's working and where. Brands like Uber and Zendesk trust Phrase to scale their content across the globe and get it right every time. If you're serious about reaching more people and driving better results internationally, head over to phrase.com/MPN and take a look. That's phrase.com/MPN.
Are you tired of juggling multiple software tools to manage your agency? Say hello to Deltek Workbook, the ultimate solution for marketing and communication agencies. With Workbook, you can streamline your projects, resources, and finances all in one place. Imagine real-time dashboards and reports giving you full visibility into your projects, people, and financials. Plan your team's capacity weeks in advance to avoid bottlenecks while staying on budget to maximize project margins. Plus, Workbook works perfectly for both agencies and in-house marketing teams looking to boost efficiency and profitability. And here's the best part. At PCI, we're a certified Deltek partner and reseller offering expert implementation, integrations, and ongoing support to ensure your success. Want to see how Deltek Workbook can transform your operations? For a free consultation, visit pci.us/podcast today. That's pci.us/podcast.
Welcome back to Rockstar CMO. Cathy, how the devil are you?
I am doing well, Ian. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Always doing very well when I'm talking to Cathy McKnight from Seventh Bear. How's the weather? I know you're not in your normal Toronto, Epic, and we'll talk about that in a second, but you're in Montreal. How's the weather?
I am. I'm in the motherland. This is where I was born and this is where I grew up. So I've been loving walking around the city and getting the vibe. It's beautiful. We have great weather, so it's all good.
Lovely. So you're part of the French Canadians.
Well, my family is as British as they come, but in English. But I did grow up in Montreal. I do speak French, and it's great being back. It's such a beautiful city. Anybody who's listening, who's thinking, "Hey, I should go to Canada and visit a city. Which city should I go to?" Definitely check out Montreal.
Really? Well, I've been to Toronto. I've been to Toronto, and I very much enjoyed Toronto. I think, but on this base, I think we can stay friends. So that's nice. You're not too French. Anyway, you're in Montreal for CMS Connect 25. You've just completed day one yesterday, and I'm speaking to you very early, in my opinion, but not very early for you because you're a morning person on day two. So you're just about to leap back into the fray. And you open the conference with a keynote. And one aside, as I love it, everybody seems to be keynoting, and all they're doing really is they're just running a session in a side room. Keynote is a keynote, isn't it? It's the first session of a thin event. So yeah, you actually keynoted, and your opening session was called "The Big Topics Right Now," and you presented with Matt Garapi of CMS Critic fame. And I know that we've been chatting about some of the things that have come out of it. So we've got some interesting things to cover, and that was just from day one. But what's your impressions of the event so far?
Well, interesting, not surprisingly, moderately disappointing. I shouldn't say that. It's been a great conference. The speakers have been fantastic, and the discussions that we've had have been really, really good. But it's a lot of the same conversations we've been having for the last 10, 15 years with a sprinkling of how does AI help with this, or does it, right? So there is still, within the group, there were still many people who were like, no, you can't use AI for this. It's going to wreck it, or it's not going to work properly, or, insert fear here. And others who just want to throw everything to AI and, go for a walk. So it's been interesting, but, again, so much of it comes down to it's the same thing. If I said process and governance once yesterday in my keynote and then my second session, I probably said it 15 times. But that's the basis of success when it comes to technology, right? Is consistency.
Yeah.
So
I want to try and, we had a little chat before I hit record, so I just want to tease a little bit at that. But, the impression I was getting from our conversation just now about your impression is that people aren't prepared. That's the hard work, isn't it? All that process stuff is the hard work of content management.
It is, because it's collaborative. You have to work across teams. You have to think outside of just what you do to all of the things that impact content or affect it. And then you have to look at the systems that you have and the capabilities. So you have to understand the tech side of things. You have to look at the capabilities of the individuals involved. So from a skill set, are there any gaps? And then you have to build something that initially is going to insert friction and time and confuddledness into the work that's being done, to eventually get to the other side where it is smooth and faster and less friction and more efficient and effective.
Yeah.
But people don't want to do that part.
Yeah. So, and CMS Connect has been running, it's CMS Connect 25. It's been running for almost 2 decades, isn't it? Jay Boy, we've known him, haven't we, for a long time.
Yeah. So this CMS Connect is being, I don't know if it's the same one or if it's adjacent, Giannis Boy, who has been in the industry for a really long time. I think this is only the second year for his iteration of it.
But he's been running his events.
Off and on,
just
for
to
the
give a bit of background.
10, 15 years.
Yeah, just to give a bit of background. Yeah, it's Giannis Boy, isn't it? That's how you pronounce his name, isn't it? And he's been around our industry, it must be 2 decades, mustn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, off and on.
Yeah.
He's had some breaks here and there.
Yeah. Well, is he still actively involved? Is he still running the show?
Well, it's his show, so yes.
Yeah, cool. Well, say hello if he remembers me. That'd be splendid. Right, okay, so let's move on to some of the meat of our conversation. So what's your first key point that you've come across? And I'm guessing I know the first initials of the first bit, because you've done it already.
Right, so in my keynote, I talked about AI, the technology these days, composability, the terminology, et cetera, and orchestration. And my opening statement was, content is a strategic function of the business, and thus it's still the lifeblood of digital experiences, right? Yeah. It's the heart of what keeps things flowing, but it's not the be all end all that it used to be, because it's not the only place where we publish anymore. CMS used to be, we own the glass, right? It was the only way. It didn't matter where the content came from, where it resided, who was providing it. In order for it to get to anyone and start the experience from a digital perspective, it had to be in the CMS. That is not the case anymore. So there's sharesies there, and you've got to make room at the table for the other technologies, which totally makes sense, by the way. I don't think the CMS, we used to talk about CMS as from a hub and spoke model, where the CMS was the hub and all the other technologies were the spoke. And I remember doing, 1 year, my main presentation was the who will sit on the Iron Throne, because it was at the height of the Game of Thrones, right? Yeah. And so I talked about, the hub and spoke model, and then I said, Will it be DAM? Will it be MAM? Will it be marketing automation? Should it be data? And since then, we've had so many other iterations of technology evolve, and it is iterative of what already existed. It's just broken out and more specific. But really, organizations still need a central system to manage, structure, and deliver their content at scale, and eventually with some personalization and or localization and or regionalization. So CMSs are still very valid. And I don't buy into the conversation that is happening about, well, do we even need a website anymore? Should we just get rid of the .com? Which I'm calling total bullshit on that, because that is your source of truth. That is the only way in this world of AI and LLMs where you can make sure that there is a source of information for your company and or brands that is driven by you.
That's your owned channel, isn't it? I mean, that's not your rented land. That's where you live, right? Yeah. And I mean, are people having that? I mean, I imagine in that room in CMS Connect that you're pretty much preaching to the converted there. But is there isn't that sort of thought that maybe the website is losing its losing its place as the central.
It's cachet, not in this. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think in this room. I'm sure the vendors in the room are thinking about how they position their technology for those who do think that. But when you think about it, I mean, the CMS touches everything, right? Content, marketing, IT, operations, customer experience, customer service, some R&D. So it's the connective tissue. It's the one place where strategy, creativity, technology, operations all have to come together for it to work well. And that's why, as I said at the outset, if people took the time to look at, really consider that and build a process across those elements, they would be so much further ahead.
Yeah. And from the other thing is this event uses the old terminology, the terminology we both use, which is CMS, right? Do you think that the content management system, do you still have your clients talking in that terminology? Because we have, like you said, we have digital asset management, we have marketing resource management, we have web content management. We've had everything go through this thing. And really, in my opinion, I've written about this on CMS Wire. There's years ago, all these acronyms basically mean the same thing. It's a repository where you store your content and you have interfaces to get it in and out. And if it's got a calendar, it's a content marketing system. If it hasn't, then if it's got a way of seeing,
it's a CMS, right? That's what it is. And we had this conversation, and I think I've probably said it at least once during our conversations. This whole concept of DXP, which came up yesterday, it's not a thing.
No,
it's just not, right. And I've said that from the beginning, and I took heat for it back then. But when a client comes and says, can you help us with the technology selection? It's like, sure. What do you need? Well, we need somewhere to manage our content, or we need a content management system, or we need a digital asset management system. And those two are not the same thing, right? Neither is a media asset management system, a digital asset management system. Now you're starting to get into minutia, right? But a CMS, that's what they come to us. Can you help us acquire a CMS? Can you help us acquire a digital asset management system? Can you help us acquire a marketing automation platform? Those are things. Those are actual pieces of technology that fit into a company's, if you want to call it, a digital experience platform, where the conglomeration of all the different bits and pieces, and bobs, as you would say, that deliver the experience. But it's not one thing. There's no single vendor out there that delivers an end-to-end, all the pieces you need in one seamless, tied up with a bow delivery, right? So again, we talked about that. There was several people came up to me afterwards. It's like, oh, thank you so much for calling the shit on that, right? Because they get, the vendors push it. And the vendors don't always agree. I mean, I've had this conversation with so many of them, and well, let's agree to disagree, which no, but it's then they say
that would mean we're both wrong.
If
I agree
exactly.
with you, we're both going to be wrong.
Yeah. And then, we understand what you're saying, but that's what they're saying. But they're not though. Customers aren't using those terms.
Yeah, I mean, it's a contrivance often, isn't it, between an analyst who wants to claim their little hill or their little corner of their analyst firm and have their own acronym that they own and become the principal, senior, whatever analyst of it, and vendors that are willing to support and pay for that and are looking for differentiation in the category. So it's, neither of them. Nobody's asking the customer, like you say. It's between, you know what I mean? It's just, but so talking about the buzzwords and stuff, we mentioned AI there, but you also mentioned, I think you said composability as well was one of the big things that came out of this. And hot on the heels of that, I guess, is the other big buzzword of the CMS at the moment, which is headless. Now, it sounds to me like where you're setting that model up of hub and spoke, and you're also explaining that DXP isn't one solution, or managing your digital experience, if I say it better than that, is not one solution. I'm guessing composability and headlessness came up quite a bit yesterday.
Yeah, so we talked about composability, headless and passing, but again, this is the same conversation we've had in many different iterations, right? There was best of breed and monolith. There was... I think best of breed stuck. And then we talked about best of breed and suite solutions. And now it's all headless, composable, and not, right? So it's a choice and it's a pendulum. And really what it comes down to is the buyer's desire to have one throat to choke. So it's not necessarily about the solution itself. It is about the inclination of the company making the decision as to whether or not they find it onerous to manage multiple different vendors and worry about the connective tissue and making it work versus being able to go to one of the bigger names that offer multiple elements of the solution. By the way, not all seamlessly connected, even though they tell you they are. So buyer beware. Yeah. And do it that way, and it goes back and forth, right? We see it swing. The tides come in and go out again, and it's the same thing. So this will forever be the case, and especially as truly new, different capabilities and technologies come into play, then some people want to be ahead of the curve, so they'll go and they'll start introducing the small individual pieces of technology, even if they do have a suite of solutions. And so then they start edging out because they're like, hey, that worked. Maybe we should replace this, or maybe we don't need that. And it's...
Yeah. Well, so imagine with that crowd, there was probably quite a lot of conversation about the underlying technologies and how that works. What are the key themes at the moment around, or that you heard yesterday around the technology itself and how these things interoperate together and stuff? Was there much of a conversation around that and some of those challenges?
Not particularly. It was interesting. There was a woman who spoke about accessibility, and I tried not to be so distracted. She was visually impaired, and she had the most beautiful black lab named Keller. So of course, and sitting in the front row. So I'm doing my keynote and I keep looking at the crowd and then looking at the dog, looking at the crowd, looking at the dog. It was so cute.
Looking at the dog, looking at the dog, looking at the dog.
Exactly. Yes. Full transparency. Yes. Anybody who follows me on Instagram will know that's what they see. So it was interesting because, again, accessibility, similar to process, similar to governance. People want to just do the MVP, the minimal viable product for that, and tick the box and move on. Accessibility, when done right, takes time and it costs money. And nobody wants to spend the time or the money on doing it correctly. But when you think about it, and you think about an audience, and you think about wanting to as a company, I would want to do the right thing. So am I going to go above and beyond initially? Maybe not. But I'm certainly going to make sure that whoever comes to our site is able to, whether it's a screen reader, whether it's audio, etc., that it's done right for them. And she showed me that I don't think about it enough because, again, I didn't have any slides yesterday. I just spoke. But when I have slides and there's a picture, I don't describe the picture. I don't get up there and say, so here, you see a picture of, my dog Maisie lying in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say that, but I should be saying that because most of the conferences I go to, there are a couple of people who are visually impaired. So shame on me. It really, for me, for the rest of the day, it really got me focused. And I heard other people, and you knew it was interjected. Like this was not part of their planned presentation. They interjected accessibility into the conversation. And kudos to Lucy Garrop, who was the woman who was speaking, because there was one session where somebody presented a video, and it was just music. It was a narrative with some music in the background, but you'd have no idea what was being shown. So, and she goes, "What's the video? Like what?" And it's like, you're so right.
Yeah.
So for me, that was my big takeaway is we need to do more on that. We need to be asking those questions.
Yeah, I used to work, accessibility, I'm a little bit out of the CMS industry these days, but accessibility back, 10, 15 years ago was a huge thing, right? And part of the value proposition of well-structured content, right? And I think that like multi-channel used to be the same way. And then we got responsive HTML and, the technology improved, the CSS and HTML improved sufficiently that then you could just build responsive websites. You didn't need to worry too much about screen sizes. And I kind of think that maybe we just thought that problem had gone away as well, alongside the fact that, we could just create well-structured HTML and the screen readers will sort it out. But clearly that doesn't seem to be the case. And
it doesn't.
Yeah. And the other thing that I was thinking as you were, it's a small example, but if you listen, I'm an audio podcast listener and I don't watch many of podcasts on YouTube because I'm doing something else, like I'm walking or gardening or whatever. And it does annoy me that increasingly podcasts seem to be made for video and they'll talk about something or there'll be something on display that you can't see. And it's funny, you just mentioning that experience. I thought it's exactly that experience when people release podcasts on audio that were made for video. It's that same, I know it's not the same as being visually impaired, but it's that same sense.
But it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's another element of accessibility. Right? Yeah. It's that incorporation. It's the attention to the detail. And it's something, there's tools that Lucy was talking about where they'll, they pitch that it's one line of code to make your whole site accessible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what it does, this one that she was talking about, is it comes in and it prompts the user to turn off their reader for best use, like turn off your reader so this AI probably can come in and do the reading for you. Wow. Well, now you go to another site and your reader is off. So then you got to turn. So like, what kind of experience is that? And it's all these things that because we are not visually visually challenged or hearing challenged or dexterity challenged. Yeah. We don't think about it, right? We think about people who, they have no fingers. Yeah. And they use their forehead, right? Mm-hmm. To tap on the screen. Well, have you ever been, I have been on sites where the CTA button is so small, I'm having a hard time with this cursor to hit it, right? Yeah. Or they've made the CTA button big, but the actual thing that you have to click are the words and it says click here. So it's super tiny. Like all of these things that we do, we make sure that it will pass. And Canada's, I think our AODO rules are better. Accessibility rules are better than the US. Yeah. Not nearly as good as Europe. But again, this is something that companies shouldn't be scrimping on.
No, and the other thing is, we haven't talked about accessibility for a long time, and I haven't talked about it for a long time. But I do remember when it was an important thing. Because I spent a chunk of my CMS career selling to government, right? So accessibility was important to the UK government. Obviously, they've got those standards, and when we looked at the research into this, that actually, if you build an accessible website, everybody finds it easier to use. To your point, right? You don't have any of those stupid little CTAs with the tiny buttons and things like that. The whole website is just much easier to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't expect to go down the rabbit hole of accessibility. So what else? And also we were talking about, there's 8 things or 5 things you're going to discuss. I think we've covered 2 and we're up to 22 minutes already. So what else? What other topics came out of the day yesterday that you're seeing in the CMS industry?
Well, like I said, AI was thread through a lot of the conversations, and I think people are getting tired of hearing about that, so I don't really want to talk about that. But agentic AI is certainly surfacing, and how to use that, whether it's creative automation, whether that's process, whether that's brand protection. There are so many great functions that enable and support the human side of content, right? So the adding content there's always been the challenge of quantifiable validity against content, right? So yes, you can engage, you can measure experience, you can manage click-throughs, time on site, etc. But a lot of those aren't great, right? Like it's really bottom line. Most companies still, it's about, what they spend, right? Which is not the only measure of engagement, but that's ultimately what people look at. They're not measuring differently across the entire journey in the different stages. A lot of companies only look at conversion as, again, spending money. Well, a conversion can be somebody just getting to the next page. It could be somebody giving you their email address. Like, it's all about purposeful placement of CTAs with predetermined metrics for success. And so when it comes to agentic AI, one of the things that we talked a little bit about, we didn't talk a lot about it, is that it's going to enable a more quantifiable measurement of good content. So because now the iterative element of content, where it used to take, if you wanted to multivariate test 3 headlines, well, okay, the agency's like, okay, great. Well, that's going to be another 3 weeks for us to deliver that, right? Yeah. And now with certain tools, you can do that in a matter of hours, and it's not 3, it's hundreds. And get to that threshold of 85% saying, yes, this is the one for this segment. And you can do it for segments, right? So it could be this headline for this segment, this headline for this segment. Measurement of brand alignment, a quantifiable, not a gut check. Yeah, that looks good. That reflects the brand. It's based on your brand guidelines and your tone and your voice and your color, all of the things and the criteria you set. This piece scores an 87 out of 100 on your brand. Those are really good things. Those are things where the debate on, are you sure that's our blue? Go away. Because it will measure it and say, yes, this is your, insert Pantone color here.
So I was thinking it's interesting because this is where AI starts playing into your wheelhouse, isn't it? In the sort of the process and governance side of things. And I think that's a really interesting use case. So would you see then the sort of agentic AI things or automated workflow steps are really, I guess, they are the most basic, increasingly being implemented, like check the blue, check the language, check this, and then hand it over to the human?
Eventually.
Yeah. You're not seeing it yet then?
People are working on it. It's something that's definitely in play. Some of the more edgy brands, certainly the beta clients that some of the vendors are working with are using it and seeing really good results. But that's where we see the really great blend of human and tech come in, right? People are all freaked out. I actually just wrote a post for Salesforce. It's not up yet, but on how marketers what they should be doing to lean into this AI to keep to not only keep their jobs but do more with their jobs. By leveraging this. Like, stop freaking out that it's going to take your job. It's going to change your job 100%. Anybody who thinks it's not is putting their head in the sand. But it doesn't mean you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, no, and I think, you're with an audience of content management professionals using CMS systems. And I think we're not going to be able to escape the fact that the CMS system will use AI in order to get certain jobs done easier, right? It's not going to, it's not going to be a choice. It's just going to be it's like whether you choose the kind of database underneath your CMS. You don't, do you? It just stores it away and you don't really care where it goes as long as it's in the cloud or whatever. So, it'll just be part of it, won't it? Part of the experience.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
But it's I find it really interesting. Last point on that is we've had AI automation in our systems for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's the piece that people don't use. So it's the automated workflow that they don't use.
Yeah.
It's the checklists to make sure that something is done as best as it can, right? So setting those parameters for success, like how many, like the metadata that needs to be included, the H tags, all of the H levels of content, all of those things. And it's something that a lot of companies, a lot of people haven't leaned into. And had they learned and adopted it as it was introduced, this would be so much easier with so much less friction and worry.
Well, I mean, we know people that have made or that plowed their furrow in governance and tools that were about governance and all these checks and everything. And it's never really hit the mainstream, has it? But it should really be part of the hard work, like you say, right? You get all this stuff right, and then you can get on with the fun stuff. So talking about fun stuff, what's coming up for you, Cathy?
Well, conference silly season is coming up.
Nice.
I start my road trips after my holiday. I'm heading out on holiday. But conference season starts early September, and that runs through into November. So that, along with my client work, I will be racking up a few air mile points.
Yes. What's your first conference after your holiday?
Content Marketing World in San Diego.
Ah, yes. Nice. I've always wanted to go to that. I like the idea of going to it when it was in Cleveland, because that just sounded, like Joe Pulitz's hometown, and he goes on about it. And San Diego just sounds, it's a bit further away.
I would far rather, no offense to Cleveland, been there, done that. 9 times at least. So San Diego, as far as
though,
climate and whatnot, it's lovely.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is getting to Cleveland from here is really hard. At least
getting to Cleveland from anywhere is not easy.
So you got Content Marketing World coming up. That's great. Where are you going on holiday? Well,
we are heading out to the East Coast. So we are going to the Maritimes of Canada. Nice. We're going to Cape Breton and then on to Halifax.
Nice.
Going to see me some puffins and some whales and do a little golfing. And
nice. So, and then in a month's time, when you come back and tell us all about it, and also
100%.
And also, I feel like we just skated over the surface of some of these themes, so maybe we need to dig into some of that as well. So enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing your updates on LinkedIn, and I'll speak to you in a month.
All right, super. Thanks again.
Have fun.
Cheers,
Cathy. Thank you, Cathy. I forgot to do my spin the dial on the interwebs thing at the end there. And if you do spin the dial on the interwebs looking for Cathy, you can find her on LinkedIn or seventhbear.com. And I will, of course, include all of her links in the show notes. So that's a wrap on episode 283 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. Thank you for dropping a dime into your podcasting jukebox and jiving along with us. I've been your host, Ian Truscott, and as well as the links to Cathy, you can find the links to me, the event that we just discussed, our blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes in the show notes at rockstarcmo.com. Coming up for us here on Rockstar CMO, we have Robert back in the bar on Saturday, and Jeff will be back from his long holiday next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you'll join us for some of that here on Rockstar CMO FM.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Robbie Samuels hosts the On the Schmooze podcast. Robbie, tell listeners what to expect from the show.
Since 2015, I've interviewed entrepreneurs who overcame challenges to achieve success in their field or industry. Tune in to On the Schmooze to listen as I ask deep questions to elicit untold stories about leadership and networking.
And where can people subscribe?
Find the show at ontheschmooze.com or on marketingpodcast.net, or just search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard them. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.